Hello and welcome back to another video of why am I talking about this and why do we have to go here? Because I'll tell you what, based on what Trump said today, Liberation Day will come to be known as one of the worst decisions in American history that we've seen since 1930. Why do I specify that year? Well, let me give you a history lesson in very short terms. Let's go ahead and talk about the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, commonly known as the Smoot-Hawley Tariff or the Hawley-Smoot Tariff, which was a law that implemented protectionist trade policies in the United States. Sponsored by Reed Smoot and Willis Hawley, it was signed by President Herbert Hoover on June 17, 1930. The act raised U.S. tariffs on more than 20,000 imported goods. Excluding duty-free imports when inactive, the tariffs under the act were the second highest in United States history, exceeded only by the tariff of 1828 at that point. The act prompted retaliatory tariffs by many other countries. The act and tariffs imposed by U.S. trading partners in retaliation were major factors in the reduction of American exports and imports by 67% during the Great Depression. Oh, you remember the Great Depression, huh? You learned about that, right? Now, how it only ended after we went to war and had the economy boom because we had to make stuff for the war efforts, and then afterwards we were able to make stuff for other things. Yeah, you know that war? Guess what we're headed for? Good job, Mr. Trump. You effectively found a way to bring the economy back, piss everybody off, and then go to war with everybody, and then afterwards hope that you can come back to actually make more money here at home instead of having to make stuff for the war. And speaking of which, I don't know that we're going to have anything to come back to after this one, because if we ticked people off enough. Okay. So, not only do we have the tariffs that that the U.S. is now putting on everybody starting at midnight tonight, but we also have the threats of invading Greenland that Trump has basically said that he's not putting military action off the table, which is very clear language for saying, yeah, if I want to, I'll just invade. Because we have to have Greenland. We have to have Greenland for national security. By the way, if you've ever seen videos on YouTube about how the War of 2077 started in the Fallout series, you'll hear practically the same kind of things going on in that we do now. The U.S. taking over different territories that they don't own and tariffing other countries into oblivion, and then China threatening to invade the U.S., which actually is there is talk about possible retaliatory action from a union of China, South Korea, and Japan. And do you know how difficult it is to get those three nations to talk to each other? Well done, Mr. President. You helped heal relations between three Asian countries by pissing them all off enough that they need to take action against you. The president of peace, by far, at least at least in terms of making people pissed off enough that they'll make peace on their own just to get rid of you. I'm struggling to not go crazy right now because of everything that's going on and the idiocy of our constituency, the idiocy of the people in power that have allowed this to go on far too long. We are not going to see this favorably in 5 years, in 4 years. if Trump allows another election, which I don't know whether or not he would, but if Trump does allow another election because he hasn't been able to figure out how to make himself dictator by that point, I have a very high inkling, a very high belief that by that point, nobody in any capacity is going to be voting for the guy if he goes back up for another term, like he says he wants to. Oh, yeah, I could go back for a third term. I could go back for a third term. They want me to go back for a third term. Yes, sure they do. They might have at one point, but after we see the economy crash, because here's the thing, the stock market after hours is tanking. Yeah, after hours trading. Yeah, so after hours trading is causing major stock markets to drop. Very much so. Because of the tariffs that are being put across the board. There is a base 10% tariff on all nations. That's just tariff chart. There we go. Here we go. Here's the tariff chart that I'm looking for. Okay. Let's see what we've got as far as the reciprocal tariffs on nations, on China, and on other places that are basically screwing us all out of any kind of hope to be able to get back on the horse eventually. We're going to end up finding ourselves in bargain bins hunting for bread because everything's going to absolute crap. Okay, all right. Tariff chart. Okay, all right. I will show you the tariff chart. Okay, so let me go ahead and move this. No, not that. Not that. Keep this, move this. I'll move me over some. All right. So, China, and by the way, somebody's figured out how they calculated these, all right? How they calculated these numbers, all right? They took the amount of trade that they're doing with the U.S. and divided it by the amount of deficit we have with them in trade, and that's what they supposedly are charging us in tariffs. So supposedly China is charging us 67%, but that's just regular taxes and import duties and stuff. So what are we doing? 34% tariff on China, 46% tariff on Vietnam, our ally. Well, at least someone that we work with. Taiwan, 32. Japan, 24. Goodbye Sony. Goodbye PlayStation. Goodbye Nintendo. India, South Korea, Thailand, Switzerland. Oh, here's one. Here's one that's not even on the list. You know who's not on the list? It's not Israel. Israel's right here at 17% tariffs being put on them. But you know who's not on the list anywhere? Russia. Russia is not on the list. I wonder why. I mean, it couldn't be because our president is in cahoots with him, right? That our president and their president are in cahoots together and they're just working together to try and make things worse for the whole world. No, couldn't be that. Perish the thought. This is outlandish. This is completely screwed. Oh yeah, sure. Liberation Day. Keep fooling yourselves. Keep fooling yourselves. You might eventually get there. You might. I'll be going in more detail about this I'm going to be talking about a lot of these things. But, beloved, before I go, I want to say one thing. No matter who or what is happening in the world today, know that your number one hope is always in Jesus Christ. That your hope is always in Him and not in a politician, not in a policy, not in a law, not in a bill, not in a tariff, not in anything, but in Christ alone. Remember that. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful night. Take care.